Gather round, hunters, and welcome back to another episode of Starfleet Command. Orion Pirates, +1. I'm Lieutenant Commander Tirk of the frigate War Claws. We continue our campaign against the Romulan Star Empire, and we are steadily getting closer and closer to that first heavy cruiser that we will require to press down to the south and invade the Romulan Star Empire itself. But until that happens, we're currently rolling around in our little tiny frigate doing some anti-piracy operations. We're fully kitted out and ready to rock, so let's set out into space and see what we can't find, and apparently nothing. Apparently Merak space is clean, and no enemies to be found. MET-10 patrol, a nice, easy, simple patrol to begin with, hopefully. Or perhaps an absolute nightmare. We shall find out shortly. Red alert and increased speed. It is a freighter, but I've seen that sort of freighter before. Well, not specifically this freighter, but I've seen what they've called freighters before. It is a Lyran freighter, so it's very large and yellow, and filled full of other cat people, which we will have to, of course, defeat if we shall demonstrate that we are the most superior cat people out there. Clearly the goal, of course. So let's kick up the speed, see how fast we can go, so I can remind myself how fast we can go. Apparently not super... Oh, because I've got the shield reinforcement going on. Of course! How much shield do I currently have? 2.3. Let's zap that a bit more, and that's it. We're actually pretty capable of going pretty quickly. Let's set up ourselves for a quick little scatter pack here. There is another Orion Pirate freighter out here, as well as an MTS, which is a monster. Oh god, this is a fusion cannon monster. This is both really good and kind of dangerous. The fusion cannon monster over here that we're currently seeing, which according to this is an MTS, which should be medium, I do believe, or small, because M and S are both in there, and I'm not sure which one it is. He's equipped with a various number of fusion cannons. Fusion cannons are super short-ranged beam weapons that are utterly devastating and amazing, and they're really cool. They're a Hydran weapon in this game for the most part, and they will deal an absolute metric ton of damage if you're close. If you're at kind of medium-ish range, it'll do almost nothing at all. It'll tickle you. And unfortunately, the AI kind of doesn't really understand that, and so it tends to use the fusion cannon at maximum range, where it's not particularly effective. So with that in mind, we should be able to kite him a bit, make it so that he wastes his fire at us from long range before having to get actually involved in something. Let's slow down the speed, because we're about to engage an actual ship, and let's slow down even more. You don't have an ESG. Apparently you've launched your weapons recently. This will probably hit at the same time. We're about to find out. No, he went for the Wild Weasel. Interesting plan. And our scatter pack's ready, so I can probably take him out with one simple pass here. You're packing C-Rack missile launchers, which fire twice every turn, which is a pretty nice piece of equipment, and a Paraphaser 3, so not very dangerous at all. So as long as I keep my speed kind of up against him, he can't touch me, because the AI only makes use of a certain kind of drone. Oh, we're just getting a graphical glitch on the starboard side missile launcher, so just something that we don't really need to worry about, so we're safe. Missile launchers are ready to go again, and they should go right for him, because this should be dead, which he did fire his weapons at us, so maybe that'll get through, although I do anticipate some sort of tractor beam, but one still manages to get through. Excellent. We can now use our 360-degree phaser to get involved with that one, and actually I'm just going to go all weapons, so as soon as we get the frontal weapons on, I want to be able to shoot. We have lost a shield, which is not tremendous, although he did drop a bomb right in front of his own friend, and we're going to activate our own defensive tractor beams. So let's pick up the pace and get on out of here, because I don't want to be this close to this much firepower, especially since, as you can see, they're dropping my shields down quite heavily. One thing I will do as I pass on out of here, though, is I will dump a scatter pack on top of him, because he has no way of defending himself. He does not have a tractor beam, he does not have point defense weapons, and yeah, as long as this pops before he takes it off, excellent, then it should murder him, because that's a lot of missiles. That's 6 missiles, each dealing 24 damage, which is pretty considerable, and we've done a pretty nice amount of damage to him already. Let's patch our 360-degree phaser. Let's focus on him with a little bit more missile bombardment. As long as his friends are going to be separated from him, we may as well attempt to take advantage of that. We're going to have to tap our spare parts locker a little bit, because we do have some damage onto us that we would rather not have to worry about. Alright, 1, maybe 2 more shots on him ought to do it. We do need to keep our range out from him, mainly because that fusion cannon can hurt us quite badly. So I did have to expose that a little bit, but we should be fine. Didn't damage the missile launchers at all, which is what I really cared about. We're going to dump a mine on top of him. If he runs right into it, that's going to blow up on him, and he's going to have a bad day. He will attempt to evade, and his speed is quite high, but if he turns right back into me, I should be able to nail him again with a couple of missiles. Our missiles have a very limited speed. They only travel at a speed of 16 right now because it is the early era, so we do have to keep that very much in mind. But yeah, if I can get him to turn towards me, I can deal a lot of damage to him. If I can get him to turn towards me. Did you fire your fusion cannon in suicide overload mode? I don't think so. Suicide Overload mode is a special mode that only the fusion cannon has, he did, which causes it to blow up. It does a lot of extra damage, and can penetrate a lot of shielding and armor. Unfortunately, once you've done that, you're helpless because you can't defend yourself anymore. So we're going to come in on this FLDS once again. Most of our systems are back online. I'm not especially worried about him. His weaponry is purely limited to a speed of 16, and we're not going to make the mistake of flying right at him. Him, on the other hand, he has quite a bit of beam and disruptor weapons. That can get dangerous really quick. So we're going to come in front of him, hopefully, so I can get him to have to drown on the missile. We know he only has a single tractor beam, so if we can get on target with him, we can do quite a bit. So we're not charging too well right now, and I don't want to spend the spare part to fix that, mainly because I'm traveling so quickly. So our disruptor isn't charging, our phaser isn't charging. He's trying to draw me out so that he doesn't have to deal with me. He wants his friend back here to do so, because his friend is trying to come up here quite quickly. As long as we stay outside of a range of 3 with him, he can't touch us. And I'd love to dump it. We'll dump the missiles now, because he's dropped his speed enough so he will now have to actually face these missiles. Now I'm assuming that... Oh, nope, there goes another Wild Weasel. He's doing it for 2 missiles, which is a minuscule salvo, to be honest. Normally you see the AI react to this way to, well, 3 or more. We've gotten it... We had a pretty consistent period at one time during one of our campaigns where they would react immediately to 3 missiles, and it was pretty hilarious. But right now, I don't know what quite his captain had planned. We should probably pop off because of that. I was worried about that, and it did hit on through. Did you destroy my disruptor? Did not. Excellent. So missiles are ready, so we're going to spit him out. They'll chase him down. He should maybe be able to shoot down 1, because he does have the phaser 3. I actually really do want to get on his stern to kind of do more damage, and we've got the OPT right behind us, the Survivor. Double mine right in his face, just see how he likes that, and pick up this pace a little bit more. Or at least we would try if we didn't have so much engine damage, which we have just lost our rear phaser 3s. Not super happy about that, but we should be fine. And that missile's going to penetrate. Excellent. Phasers and disruptors, please, as well. Not quite. Missiles, however, are about to do a follow-up here, and his fire back only hit the reinforcement, so we're good. We're good with that one. Start pulling away here. We're almost back up to full power, and I'm going to invest the 1 more point in order to get us back there. I want to have a fully equipped ship, fully equipped systems. Another punch on through. How many more missiles do we got? Oh, we're kind of running low. I'm not super worried about this OPT, though. Honestly, it's a freighter. And he's beaming Marines on board to try and hurt me, which is not a terrible tactic, honestly, but he pulled himself out of range in order to do that. And we'll nail him a little bit more. We're about to come in with a couple more missiles. This is useless. He has no way to repair that since he's a monster. He cannot heal that in the space of time that we actually fight in. So I'm going to be interested to see what you invest your phasers in. Are you going to go with me? Nope, we got him. Okay, so he's dead. So now we can focus on this guy, because he'll be the next target to majorly go after. And as soon as we manage to nail him, we should be scot-free, because this guy, we can destroy at our leisure. He has no way of defending himself, he has no way of healing himself, and he has no way of surviving incoming damage, since he doesn't have shields. So we're going to wait for our missiles to come back online. I'd like to dump them into him, but he wants to do the exact same thing. So, do I bother? No. No, I'm going to wait for a good angle, and I'm going to stick away from him, and we will instead invest our phaser a little bit. I'd like to slow down enough to get our disruptor active once again. And how long... Since we're only using 2 phasers, if we get the bow on, we're going to have that front phaser and disruptor to work with as well. So, right now, we have a pretty significant advantage over him. We have a range advantage, something he just cannot match. He has 2 phaser 3s, which, if he wants to use them, he's got to get within a range of 3, which we're not going to let him do that. He's traveling at a speed of 24, which is picking up quite a bit of speed, but until he gets a lot closer to me, I'm not all that worried. Also, because I can dump a pair of missiles in his face at any time, I have 4 in total, so 2 in each, or no, 3 in total. I've got 1 in the port side launcher and 2 in the starboard side launcher, so we've got to make them count. I wonder if I could build a scatterback. No, the scatterback's not going to let me. I was wondering if I could cheat the game a little bit. So we're actually going to, I suppose, increase the speed of time a bit, so that I'm going to get up to speed, probably increase the speed of time, and then we're just going to sit here and blink away with the phaser 1 we've got, because he can't really respond to that. Our disruptor is ready, so if I can get a turn on him, we can deal a lot of damage. And that's him going wide, so that was his mistake. We're going to reduce the speed of time as we actually focus on him, get the disruptors, get a good target. Managed to nail him with that one. We'll also fire our phasers from longer range if we had any power on the phaser capacitor, which we don't. So I'm going to let that pass by. Disruptor hit will steadily weaken his shields. Eventually we will be able to punch through them. But he is really coming in for us. How many more mines do I got left? We're looking at 2. Okay, that's not terrible. And we'll dump one into him. That way he's got to react to it. He'll either plow it or try and avoid it, but it looks like he might be trying to plow it. No, he'll very barely evade it. Alrighty. So phaser capacitor, once again getting up to charge. I do want to be able to discharge it just a little bit. I'd love to be able to fire my missiles into him, but unfortunately I want to save him for a moment when they're actually going to do some damage. And he crashed it. That's actually not a terrible use for him if the AI actually is working in concert with all these units, because he can't do anything right now. So you may as well crush some mines as long as you're out here. See if we can't get all the way up to maximum speed. I don't think we actually can. So he's actually a little bit faster than us. Oh no, we can. Okay, so we're fine. Yeah, we're absolutely fine. There is no danger here at all. We can just set him to our stern and just continue to plink away, because there's nothing he can really do against us. We're charging our phaser capacitor. We're at maximum speed. As long as we keep the disruptor off, we should be just fine. And he doesn't really have a whole heck of a lot of options then. So we'll just continually do this to him. I mean, we may not hit all that often, but it's just a matter of time before we win. It's kind of sad for him. I don't want to get anywhere near those phaser 3s, though. They are a major concern of mine. So as long as I can stick away from those phaser 3s, I'm perfectly happy to continue to just kind of go around in circles with him. Because those phaser 3s can hurt me quite badly. We are a frigate. We have almost no armor, which they've already cut through most of it thanks to the fusion cannon, which did a wonderful amount of damage to us. If you're the enemy, that is. But I need to punch through and also not get too close to him. Oh, good show. So he did try to use his missiles to build a bit of space, and that did work to a certain extent. But these missiles are not going to be able to catch me. They're speed 16, just like mine. So he can't touch me. So I'll come back in, try and get a good angle. Phaser, both shots managed to nail him. Not doing a whole lot of damage at this range. Not getting through the shield, so it doesn't represent any damage on the little damage log that we have going here. If he wants to stick on my stern, I'm perfectly happy to let him be there. I have a 360-degree mount, and he also does. Maybe these are 180s. It's not super important. We're just gonna mess with him. So got a hit there. Not enough power in order to fire multiples. That is a problem of moving at these high speeds for such an older frigate. We don't really have the power generation to do any sort of major clashes. And he's still trying to fire away with those C-Rex. Even once he's out of ammo, we're not going to try and get anywhere near him. Mainly because it's just too dangerous. Those phaser 3s really are a dangerous weapon system. They're very efficient too. Each phaser 3 only takes half a point of power to charge, which means that you can get a lot of them going for not much. Makes them a very popular phaser for freighters and other sort of, I guess, civilian endeavors, if you want to look at it that way. But they're also very commonly used in the militaries as point defense weapons, mainly to shoot down incoming drones. So that's actually why we have a pair of phaser 3s, is just to serve as a little bit of defense against anything small coming towards us. The Marak are the pioneers, well, not the pioneers, but the main users of missile technology in this game. So, of course, we have some way to defend ourselves against our own weapon. And that got really close, but he did not quite manage to pull the corner in. We managed to keep him slightly outside of range, or otherwise he would have been able to fire back with those phaser 3s. It'd be nice to get in close with him and just nail him with something. Unfortunately, I just don't have enough firepower and staying power to just blow him up without having to risk anything on my ship, and I'd rather not risk anything. It's still very early game for us. We're still in a tiny frigate. There's no sense in trying to create a situation where we suddenly lose our ship because we got a little bit greedy. Even though we are currently playing the game at maximum speed of time, which is generally considered, in my opinion, to be somewhat dangerous because things can happen very quickly. It's also incredibly amusing to me right now to watch the fusion cannon monsters just sort of zipping around this fight, not doing anything because he has no way of interacting with anybody. It's kind of sad, actually. He did slow down a bit, so I can slow down as well. That'll allow me to start charging my phaser capacitor at a better level. I'll be able to be a little bit more aggressive with him. And I want to just kind of stay here and plink away at that shield until it's gone. So we're doing 29, he's doing 28, so we'll slow down a little bit more. I don't want to get in front of him, after all. That is the danger. And we are closing the distance steadily. So we've cut down a shield. I'm actually going to drop the speed of time a little bit because I need to kind of... Nope, he's going to reverse that turn, as I kind of expected he was going to. Although I am very happy to see that he's staying at this slower speed. That gives us a much better opportunity to charge our phasers with the phaser capacitor. Although we do have to keep in mind, don't get too close to him. because if we get within that Phaser 3 range, he has a very powerful weapon system against us. So he's probably going to delay for a while here. He's kind of content to do this because he's trying to get that port or starboard side rear shield back online. So we need to kind of make that untenable for him by trying to nail his other shields so that the more he tries his turn, the more vulnerable he is. And I think we've got shots in on him now. 5 damage with the Phaser once. It's a very efficient weapon for blowing people to pieces. And we have 2 battles. That got close, and he fired into it. He saw an opportunity, and he took it. So we're going to have to now work down another shield, but that's all right. As long as we stay outside the range of 3, we're perfectly happy to just continue to mess with him like this. Eventually, he's going to slow down enough that we can get our disruptors involved, and then he's going to start seeing a lot of damage onto him. His starboard rear shield is back online, but it kind of doesn't want to continue that. He doesn't seem to want to reverse this turn. I'm not quite sure why. Oh, he's got his rear shield back, but we're about to knock it back down. Or not. If he continues this turn, we're just going to continue to maul him. We've taken out one of his Phaser 3s, so he doesn't have nearly as good defense anymore. And we've nailed that rear shield once again. He's put the rear starboard towards us again, and he's still doing 26, which means we kind of got to be a little bit careful. All right, we got through all of his shields. He fired back, but it was at the edge of its range. But I kind of feel a little bit confident about going in now, because he's lost one of them. He only has the port side one left. And we have open shields that we're just pouring fire in through. It took a little while to get here, but now that we're here, it's very safe for us, and we took them both out. All right, so at this point, he has basically nothing left. And so my plan is going to actually slow down speed time so I can actually manage this for a second. Continue this turn. Come into the tractor beam. We're going to engage a holding beam, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab onto him and flush my missile pods into him. So I just got to stay relatively close to him once the tractor beam has enough strength into it, and I'm going to slow down probably rapidly, and missiles. And by doing this, I'm hoping to drag down his speed so that he can't actually evade. I'm putting enough energy into my forward shield so that when he blows up, he won't be able to do anything towards us. Oh, but he was able to repel us. So he activated his tractor beam in repel mode, which gave him an opportunity to attempt to, which gave him the opportunity to push back on our beam. And it caused enough of a feedback that our tractor beam had to let go. So good power to him. Unfortunately, he's currently now holding on to 2 missiles, which is dangerous. Because the moment I start damaging his tractor beam, he's going to have a really bad day. And we're going to put another missile into him. It's our last missile, but I think it'll work. I think this is too much for his tractor beams to handle. And am I right? That's the big question here. Yep, it does manage to slowly boat its way into him. We can now start hitting him. He has to sacrifice 2 whole points of power into these tractor beams in order to maintain them. So that's having a major effect on the rest of his systems. The only thing he has left is a single missile launcher, which he could theoretically use to try and shoot down the missiles, but I've never seen the AI ever do that. Even though it would be a phenomenal use of missile launchers in this case, especially C-Rax. Because C-Rax fire at double speed. He'd be able to knock both of those out before I could flush another missile, although we're out of missiles at this point. So disruptors on into him, get a couple of phaser shots on into him. The 360 now. Oh, nope, he lost power. He lost enough power in order to actually control that. He lost the tractor beam, and thus the missile drifted into him and annihilated him. So now we're going to slow down here just so I have enough power to do things, and we're also going to maximize the speed of time. He's dead. He's dead, and he knows it, and there's nothing he can do to stop us. So blast him with the disruptor, blast him with the phaser. The more damage you deal to a monster, the slower it goes, because for some reason in the way that monsters work, they have a maximum speed that they cannot exceed, and as you deal damage to them, one of the things that happens is that maximum speed slowly drops lower and lower, which is kind of sad. We actually were able to play as a monster, specifically a Sun Glider, which is a very large, sort of flower-looking like monster that has huge phaser weapons in our Beast Raiders campaign. So if you want to see a little bit of monster gameplay, just look for the episode where we were flying the Sun Glider. It was a very fun period of time that we played. It was our first pirate campaign, the only one we've done so far. And so we kind of do the pirate campaigns sort of at the end because they're a little bit crazy. Now, this battle lasted a lot longer than I kind of thought it would. I figured we'd just kind of breeze through this, but apparently not. And so we're just going to have to sit here and blink away. Because he's almost down. As you can see, we are actually taking some shield hits whenever we fire the disruptor, and that's because the disruptor, like a lot of heavy weapons, actually has a splashback damage effect if you fire it when you're too close to the enemy. And so it'll actually hurt you as well as them. I think it's 1/4 of the damage that you deal to them will get dealt to you. So in this case, it's probably about 1, maybe 1.5 points of damage. If you start using photon torpedoes in overload mode, which can, get up to 16 damage, well, that's 4 damage back to you, and in most Federation ships, that's 4 photon torpedoes, so in essence, you take 24 damage back on yourself. So splashback damage is something that you really kind of have to manage, keep an eye on, otherwise you will end up destroying yourself. This becomes a huge problem in much larger Federation vessels, like their battleship, which can have 8 photon torpedoes that fire forward. Yeah, that starts getting to be pretty rough. And you can actually kill your own shield just from photon torpedo fire. So it looks like he's almost dead. The monster just soaking up damage, but because he used his suicide overload so early, well, there's nothing he can do anymore. If you ever find yourself playing Hydrants, think long and hard before using suicide overload. You can repair it, unlike the monster, but it's a very self-damaging tactic, and I would not recommend it. So how much prestige was fighting off 3 enemy vessels worth in just our little tiny frigate? 584. I'm very pleased to see that. We're up to 1321, and we took the tile, which is nice. We're putting our influence a little bit further into the neutral zone with the Federation. We're allies with them, so it's not like they're going to mind too much. But we have 1321 prestige. Where does that put us on our trip? Well, the D&E has just shown up, but we're probably not going to get him. It's an early dreadnought. It's not particularly good. None of the early dreadnoughts really are. They tend to be heavy cruisers, except bigger, so not really worth your time, especially because they fall out of favor so early. I am looking for a CD, also known as a drone cruiser, because it has a lot of missile launchers on board and can deal a lot of damage, but I'm not quite sure the year is there for us to pick it. So I will quickly go into here and check the light cruiser category. There might be a heavy cruiser, so let's check heavy cruiser. BC, BF, CA, CBT, CC, and CD. So the drone cruisers were out. They came out in 2233, and they are equipped with 6 missile launchers with B-racks, which are extended magazine ones. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing one here just yet. So we're probably going to reserve a little bit longer until one shows up, because I'm fairly certain it's in our price range. Oh, nope, there it is, CD+. So there is an improved version, which gave additional shield power. This is the original, and this is the enhanced one, and that's a pretty significant buff to shield power. 6 points on the forward and forward port and forward starboard shields. That's not terrible at all. Did that come with a power boost? It did, and it also came with 3 additional power in the engine in total, which is really nice, because the weapons did not change, so that just gives you a net increase of 3 more points of power. In a cruiser with a movement ratio of 1.0, that's 3 more points of speed. That's really good. Unfortunately, slightly outside of our price range, but maybe in a mission or 2 we might be able to pick it up. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's episode. I've been T-Rex. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to see a notification every time I release one of these videos, press that little bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you all in the next episode.